What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to another State of the Meta address. Now, normally we only do these once a month as far as talking about the changes to the competitive tiers. However, we have had a second round of bans and tier shifts, and so I wanted to talk about that. This week we also had several big changes to the tiers, including a couple of bans that are not included in the tier statistics, and we had a change to UBERS that I wanted to talk about as well. So we're going to cover all of that today. Before we get into it, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. We are trying to get to 200 by the end of the year, and we are really close. But according to my analytics, 69% of the people watching are not subscribed. So if that percentage would just subscribe, then we would get there by the end of the year easily. And so please just go ahead and hit that. And then of course, ring that bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads, and share it with a friend so we can really get to that goal, no problem. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the OU tier, which is what we feature most on the channel. And so there were also a couple of bans within this tier. So I want to talk about the bans, and then I want to talk about how that affects the tier as a whole. So if you look right here on this list here, by the way, this is going to be more of a kind of podcast type video. So if you don't want to watch the video as far as like watching everything, then that's fine. You can just listen along, play it on another tab, whatever you got to do. Just put some headphones in and listen. But so I'm showing a chart here for the usage stats for November, but I will also explain them. ZYGARDE has been sitting at number 1 for the entirety of this 2-week period, and it was at, I believe, number 4 the last time we checked in. It's been top 10 since this was even started, since it was added back into the game, and for good reason, right? This thing is an absolute monster. It has amazing stats, and it really does well with the sub coil glare 1,000 arrows set. 1,000 arrows is one of the most spammable moves in the game, and you just click it and it hits everything. Even if you're a flying type, it still hits you. It's kind of nuts. So yeah, this thing got banned. So right here, I'm also looking at the actual ban report that was put out by Finchinator. We have put out some of his teams before. We have tried out some of his teams on the channel before, but he runs the bans and announces them all and all that good stuff. And so right here, he talks about generally just what made ZYGARDE so crazy strong in the metagame, talking about glare plus coil, talking about its ability to really thrive now, especially since Hidden Power Ice is no longer a thing. It's just an absolutely amazing Pokemon. It could run all kinds of different sets, and it's just an absolutely insane mon, and so it got banned. So it's fantastic. I think that's a good thing. I think ZYGARDE was way too strong in the metagame. I think it needed to be banned, absolutely. And so then we look at the next ban, which was KYUREM-BLACK, sitting at number 6. Again, I don't think that KYUREM-BLACK was so strong that it needed to be banned. Like I said, the first time it got banned, I didn't think it needed to be, but apparently it is, and so it has been banned again. And so now it went to UBERS and then came back, and now it's gone again. So this generation, it got access to Dragon Dance and Icicle Spear, and so with Icicle Spear and its signature move, it gets both ice and electric, so it gets the Bolt Beam type of coverage, which is absolutely fantastic. It's very bulky. Dragon Dance is fantastic, and a lot of its checks, it also could just run a mixed set with Earth Power, and it checks a lot of what normally would check it. And so we started seeing like dual wing beat on it to beat Buzzwole, and then Earth Power to beat other things like Melmetal that wanted to switch in on it. So it's kind of crazy. This thing can usually beat its counters, but only one or the other, so it doesn't win in every situation, but it's still a very good mon. It does a lot of good things really well, and yeah, it's very strong. I personally don't agree with quick banning it, but that's just me. I don't think that it should be banned, but it is what it is. So looking at the rest of the tier, right? So Clefable was a big switch in to the ZYGARDE. So having that unaware ability, it ignored any boosts from Coil or Dragon Dance. The thing is, ZYGARDE could still even beat some Clefable spreads, which is kind of crazy, even though it was a really good check. So yeah, I think Clefable is just going to continue in its rise in usage. However, with Magearna and Heatran here now, we may start seeing a drop. Also with Melmetal there, those all are pretty good answers to it, unless it's running Flamethrower, which is not that common. So I think that I think it may start to fall off a little bit. At least I hope so. Lando T sitting at number 3, which is not too surprising, but again, I really don't think that Lando T is all that great. It's better now that KYUREM-BLACK is gone. But I mean, I don't think it's all that fantastic, especially with things like Pheromosa that always carries ice type coverage pretty much. The fact that Rain is really, really good right now, and most times Rain carries some type of ice type coverage, and at least Water hits neutral, so it doesn't really do well against that. But Scarf and Defensive are both very, very good sets to run on that thing, and it is very, very strong. I don't think it's number 3 strong, but it's still very strong. Magearna, you know, it's Magearna. It's been good since the beginning. It's absolutely insane. It has a really good snowball effect with the Soul Heart ability, all that good stuff. Heatran, I love seeing that it is this good now. I remember when Heatran was considered not really great, but nowadays it is an absolutely fantastic mon. That may fall off a little bit now that KYUREM-BLACK is gone, because it's good. It's pretty decent against KYUREM-BLACK if it doesn't carry the Earth Power, but we'll just have to see how it goes. It does still check quite a few things in the tier. Even it checks even some water types with the Magma Storm set, which is kind of nuts. So yeah, I still think it has a place, but we'll just have to see where it ends up. Urshifu Single Strike, that thing's always going to be top 10. It just hits too hard to not be. You've got Choice Band, Choice Scarf, Bulk Up Life Orb, all kinds of options. It just hits like an absolute truck. Spectre, the ultimate snowball, I think that's going to stay high for forever. Melmetal, I don't think Melmetal should be banned again. I think Melmetal has sufficient counters. Now with ZYGARDE gone, ZYGARDE was a really nice check to Melmetal, but Melmetal also checked KYUREM-BLACK, so kind of a dichotomy there, working for and against it, unfortunately. So we're just gonna have to see where the metagame shifts after this. You know, Heatran is a good answer to it. Lando T is a pretty good answer to it. Urshifu does a ton of damage to it. So I think that there are plenty of at least checks out there for it. And Swampert as well with like a Rocky Helmet really messes this thing up. Zapdos with a Rocky Helmet could mess this thing up. A lot of things out there really can work well against it. I think it's got sufficient counters. I think it's fine where it is. Toxapex will always be insane, but is it ban worthy or anything? I don't think so. And so then the rest of these, as far as any kind of surprises, Buzzwole has been kind of an insane mon that has risen in popularity a ton in order to check KYUREM-BLACK and ZYGARDE. So we may see it drop off a little bit, but I think Buzzwole is still very good in the tier, and I think people are starting to realize that it actually has a really nice kit. I'm hoping to feature it on the channel here soon because I really like it. But it being surprising, not really. Swampert still staying up there above Tapu Fini this month, which is kind of nuts. Tapu Fini, of course, being the premier mon in doubles right now, but it's also very good in singles. And at no point in history until now has Tapu Fini ever been the best Tapu, but now it is the most used Tapu, and that's pretty awesome to see it get completely flipped around like this. Tapu Koko is still at number 2, which normally it's sitting at number 1. It works really well with Regieleki. It works well in Rain, obviously, any kind of electric type moves that anybody wants to go for. Garchomp still being an OU is kind of crazy. To me, I don't think Garchomp is as good in this generation, but it's a ground type, and so any kind of ground type completely shuts down Regieleki, and so if you're scared of Regieleki, there you go. Although we may see a rise in usage in it now that ZYGARDE is gone. I know a lot of people have been running a Rocky Helmet set in order to check Melmetal, and so that may be an option that people start running, and it may even end up getting even stronger. So we'll just have to see. Latios, I think Latios is being slept on a lot. I think Latios is way better than number 25. That's just me. I think it checks a lot of things in the tier, and now that Dragonite's KYUREM-BLACK is gone, I think this thing can absolutely just run up on quite a few things now that it has Aura Sphere and Mystical Fire. It's absolutely insane. Regular Moltres is huge right now because of heavy duty boots. I love to see that. It's funny not seeing Chansey in OU. Normally you see both Chansey and Blissey, but it is nowhere to be seen. Just because of heavy duty boots, it has really made Blissey the preferred option now. And Galarian Zapdos still staying in OU. Again, I don't think Galarian Zapdos is all that it's cut out to be. I don't think it's as good as people think it is. Same thing with Tornadus T. I don't think Tornadus is as good in this generation as it used to be. I think it was really, really good last gen. This gen, I think it's just okay. And Blaziken has always been busted. I don't think Blaziken is all that great this generation either. It's really tough for Blaziken. Just the game is just not kind to it, and there are things that just outpace it. Urshifu Single Strike is just better than Blaziken. It just is. And so it's unfortunate, but I don't think that it's all that good. I don't think that it's UBERS worthy. I think that this will be where it stays, and it may even fall to UU at some point and then get, immediately banned. But the most fun set that I've seen on Blaziken is actually Endure with Reversal. So Endure Reversal with Protective Pads is kind of a nuts set that I want to try. And so Protective Pads makes it to where if you hit into, say, Ferrothorn, where it would have the Iron Barbs or a Rocky Helmet or anything like that, you don't take any damage from touching anything that would hurt you on contact. So I kind of want to try that set out just to see how well it works, but that honestly I think is its most viable set right now, just because it can't run Protect this gen, because it has to run Thunder Punch or Earthquake. So yeah, it's kind of tough, but it is what it is. Dragonite's cool to see, and Nidoking is especially cool to see in OU. It's been a hot minute since I've seen Nidoking in OU, and I absolutely love it. It is very good this generation, and that's really, really awesome to see. So as far as the other tiers go and just shifts to the tiers, some of these are surprising and some of them not so much. Buzzwole and Nidoking to OU. Buzzwole is not surprising. Nidoking is. Buzzwole was not surprising just because of it being able to check ZYGARDE and KYUREM-BLACK very easily. A very bulky set has always been really, really good. And so it gets bulk up, it gets Ice Punch for Landorus and for ZYGARDE. It checks a lot of things on it that are high in the tier. And then Nidoking is just a really awesome threat with Sheer Force. Sheer Force is such a really good ability for it. You hardly ever see physical Nidoking, even though its physical attack is higher. You almost always see special with Sheer Force Life Orb because it hits like an absolute truck. It's a really, really cool mon. We see Barraskewda going up to OU, and then we see Kingdra going up to RU. This is because Drizzle and Rain in general is just so good right now. You also see the Politoed and the Ludicolo also moving up. This is just because Rain is really, really good right now. It's insane. It's insane how good Rain is right now. You've got Pelipper sitting in OU just like it always has. Offensive Zapdos is a really big threat right now, especially in Rain now that it gets access to Hurricane. Several things now have access to Hurricane that did not before, and so we're seeing a lot of that. So Barraskewda moving up to OU is kind of crazy, going down from RU. It hits really, really hard, so that's not that surprising. Tyrantrum moving up is pretty cool, and Zydoge. Like we said, Zydoge was going to move up. It was never staying in NU. It's way too strong with 1,000 arrows. So yeah, no, that was never going to work. And then moving up to RU, we've got the Arctovish. Now with its new hidden ability, this thing actually is somewhat viable. And then we've got Crobat, which is an awesome Tailwind user. It also is just super bulky, but you also can run it offensive. It's very versatile in what it can do. Rabombi, because Sticky Web is absolutely amazing right now. We've got Absol, not too surprising, moving up to NU. It's got some decent stab, and the dark typing is pretty good. Everything else is not too surprising as far as the rises. The drops, Ditto from OU to PU. Ditto pretty much is either OU or PU, so this isn't too surprising. Because, I mean, Ditto is going to be as dangerous as you make it, or as dangerous as your opponent allows it to be, I guess would be the more appropriate way to word that. So you pretty much always just run Choice Scarf on it, and then let your opponent set up, bring this in, outspeed it, and then just go nuts. So Ditto is an absolutely amazing threat. Although I have seen people start running Bright Powder on Ditto, just to see if you can get your opponent to miss the first move, which is ridiculous, but I think it's hilarious at the same time. So, you know, we're all about memes on the channel, and so that's an absolute meme. Then we've got Sharpedo dropping down to RUBL. Not too surprising. Sharpedo isn't as good in this generation, unfortunately. And yeah, it wasn't able to really thrive in the UU tier with all of the things that were in it just a second ago. And now let's look at UU to RU. UU to RU, of course, getting the big dump of a bunch of things. You know, we had the huge dump into UU in the last update, and now everything is shifting down into RU, and then we're gonna have a bunch of stuff shift into NU next month, and it's just part of adding things into the new meta game. A lot of things are gonna shift around like this. Just some notable ones that are moving down to RU. Celebi, I think, is kind of interesting because I think Celebi is a UU mon through and through, but unfortunately there are just some overwhelming threats in UU that it can't handle. Conkeldurr, that's getting banned. Absolutely, that's getting banned. Yeah, that's never gonna work. Darmanitan is amazing to see in RU, but it's gonna be way too strong, especially since Torkoal is usable in that tier as well. Let's see, what else do we have? Gengar. Gengar is crazy to see in RU, seeing how it was the premier ghost type outside of Dragapult since the beginning of Sword and Shield. So it's kind of nuts. Regular Kyurem being down this low is weird. It's been OU for a while. Isle of Armor, it dropped down a little bit, and now it's dropping even more. What's another one? Omastar, I think, is a little low, given that it can use Swift Swim along with the Meteor Beam. I think that this thing's being slept on just a little bit, because I think it's actually quite good. I would like to see a lot more Omastar usage, unfortunately. Tangrowth is really interesting, because this thing has always been a premier wall, so it's weird seeing it down this low. And then, of course, Venusaur. Why is Venusaur in RU? That is never going to work either. So yeah, that's probably gonna get banned too. Yeah, but Torkoal being in NU now, now that you can just bring that up to RU, I'm pretty sure Drought is allowed in RU, but I have a feeling that's gonna get banned, because yeah, that's gonna be too much for the tier, unfortunately. There's not a whole lot that can really stop a Venusaur from sweeping outside of the Talonflame now, as long as it has its Gale Wings. So yeah, it's a little overwhelming, at least to me. I think that it's a little overwhelming for the tier. As far as moving down to NU and everything, those aren't too surprising outside of Torkoal. Again, I think Torkoal is still pretty good. But Rain being as prominent as it is, it makes Sun a little bit more difficult to shine, just because a lot of the users are fire types, unfortunately. So it does tend to suffer. Everything moving down to PU, not too surprising, and then everything else not too shocking. The Calyrex being all the way down in ZU is really funny, just because, you know, it's like the premier legendary of the DLC, and it's in the absolute lowest tier in the game. Yeah, that mon is garbage. That mon is really bad. The final thing I wanted to look at today is the usage stats for the rest of the tiers, as far as the top 10 usage in everything else. So in Ubers, we've got Yveltal and Calyrex Shadow Rider. Yveltal is there for Calyrex Shadow Rider. As you saw in our Ubers battle on Wednesday, we had an Yveltal on our team just in case our opponent brought that. And Dynamax actually has just been banned in Ubers, which is absolutely amazing. But yeah, Yveltal normally runs the especially defensive set, just to make sure that it can check that. Zacian is always going to be good. Necrozma Duskmane is a very good stealth rocker. It can Trick Room for the Ice Rider. So it's a really good mon. Kyogre, really awesome as well. Eternatus is getting a lot of traction right now as a specially defensive set with Dynamax Cannon. Ditto is always going to be an amazing mon, especially as a check to Zacian. Same thing with Marshadow, who did not make the top 10, unfortunately. And Xerneas dropping in usage as well. I have a feeling Xerneas will drop a lot more now that Dynamax is banned, because it really thrives on getting that Geomancy up and then Dynamaxing so that it's super bulky on the special side. But yeah, nothing too surprising as far as the UBERS tier goes. I have a feeling we have finally found the check to Xerneas in Zacian Crown, which is amazing to see now that that thing is not considered as much of a problem anymore. As far as UU, nothing too surprising, but it is really awesome seeing like Tapu Lele down in UU. That's amazing to see. Blacephalon down in UU. I love Blacephalon personally, and I think UU is appropriate, which is kind of weird to say. Salamence, still very good, but you know, belongs down there unfortunately, and Victini. This UU tier looks like past gen's OU tier, which just shows you the power creep that has been created in this new generation. Like all 10 of these mons last generation were OU, and they absolutely were deservedly so. But now they are all UU, and it blows my mind how far we have pushed the envelope as far as what power is in this game, to completely move all of these down. Xurkitree being an RU, of course it's number 1. It's insane. And then Steelix coming up to number 2 in order to help try to check Xurkitree a little bit. Not really. Yeah, so I'd say we'll probably be seeing a lot of Nidoqueen out there trying to check it. Arctozolt getting a lot of traction now with its new hidden ability, which is amazing to see. As far as Inu, we've got the Crobat at number 1, which is absolutely amazing. Duraludon and Sceptile also being used quite a bit, which I love to see. Berserker being really highly used in PU. I love to see Berserker because it's a very unique mon that I feel like if you don't play that tier, you kind of forget that it exists. So it's really awesome to see it shining. And then as far as ZU, nothing too surprising there. Hatchrim being pretty awesome down there, I think. Kind of a sleeper pick in my opinion. I think it could be even higher than number 7, but yeah, really awesome stuff. So yeah, that is about all for the news updates for today. So let me know what you think down in the comments below of all of these changes. The metagame is changing. You know, we've only had Crown Tundra for what, like a month now, if that. It hasn't really been all that long, and already the metagame has shifted so much to allow for so many things to shine that have never been able to shine before, and we are already getting so many bans as well. So it's pretty cool to see the metagame growing like this and shifting and changing. So let me know what you think of the metagame right now. Are you having fun with the OU tier right now? Are you not having fun? What do you think is making it not fun if you're not having fun? What do you think is making it fun if you are having fun? I would love to know and discuss that with you down there. And so yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. On Sunday, we will be, of course, doing some more shiny hunting. And so I hope that you will join us at 6 p.m. on Sunday night. And so yeah, that is going to be it for today. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you later. Stay safe out there. Bye-bye.